All right, picture this. You've been saving for years, your portfolio's looking great, and retirement is right around the corner. You've got a plan. You know what you need, right? Just withdraw a little from your portfolio every year and you're good to go, right? Well, not so fast. Today we're diving into one of the biggest mistakes DIY planners make when preparing for retirement: overestimating portfolio withdrawals. Stick around because this mistake can derail your whole retirement plan, and trust me, you don't want that. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with someone who might be making this mistake. So here's the thing. Many DIY planners think that they can just take out a percentage of their portfolio each year and poof, that's their retirement income. It sounds so simple, right? But here's where things get tricky. The most popular rule people use is the 4% rule, which says you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio annually, and it should last you for 30 years. Sounds pretty solid, right? Well, not so fast, my friend. A lot of people are overestimating that number. And in reality, it might not even be enough to keep you afloat for 30 years, especially if you're not planning for inflation or unexpected market downturns. So let's break this down. The 4% rule is based on a study called the Trinity Study, which assumes a balanced portfolio, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and a relatively stable market. In other words, it was created during a time of economic stability. But guess what? The market has changed a lot since then. There have been major recessions, stock market crashes, and periods of low interest rates. So that solid 4% might actually be too much for your portfolio to handle in today's environment. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a crystal ball that could predict the future? Yeah, no such luck. So how do you avoid making the mistake of withdrawing too much from your portfolio too soon? Imagine this. You've saved up a nice chunk of change, let's say $1 million, so you decide to withdraw 4% a year, which is $40,000. That sounds pretty good, right? You're living the dream, but what happens if the market dips or inflation spikes? Now you're dipping into your principal, and that can snowball in a bad way. Whoops! What happens if your money runs out before you do? You might be forced to go back to work in your 80s, unless, of course, you plan on living off your grandkids' inheritance. And trust me, they're not going to be thrilled about that. Here's where we get nerdy for a second. In the past, retirees could count on an average return of 7 to 8% from a balanced portfolio, but today returns are much lower. Some experts are predicting returns of 4 to 5% in the future. So, if you're withdrawing 4% of your portfolio every year, you're barely keeping up with your investments, especially when inflation is eating into your purchasing power. Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with endless numbers, but here's the key takeaway. The more you withdraw from your portfolio, the more you risk running out of money. It's a delicate balance. So how can you avoid this pitfall? Simple. Create a sustainable withdrawal strategy. Here are a few tips. Start lower than 4%. Consider starting with 3% or even 3.5%. It might not sound like much, but this can give your portfolio room to grow and weather market volatility. Adjust for market conditions. In years when the market is doing well, you might be able to take a little more. In bad years, scale back. Flexibility is key. Factor in inflation. Remember, $40,000 today isn't going to be worth $40,000 in 20 years. Build inflation into your plan and adjust your withdrawals accordingly. Diversify your portfolio. Make sure you have a mix of stocks, bonds, real estate, and cash. Diversifying can help mitigate risk and provide a more stable income. Consider a bucket strategy. This strategy divides your portfolio into different buckets based on when you'll need the funds. Short-term needs are in safer, more liquid investments, and long-term needs can stay in more aggressive growth assets. If you ignore these strategies and continue with the 4% rule without adjustments, you could be in for a rude awakening. Here's what could happen. Running out of money early. If you take too much out, your portfolio won't have time to recover during down years. Unexpected health expenses. What if you need long-term care or other unexpected medical expenses? That could drain your savings faster than you think. Lifestyle cutbacks. You might have to make drastic lifestyle changes in your 70s or 80s if you don't plan carefully. Let's talk about Bob and Carol. Bob retired at 62, confident that the 4% rule would work for him. He started withdrawing $40,000 from his $1 million portfolio. But here's the catch. The market had a rough year. Right after Bob retired, his portfolio dropped 10%. Bob wasn't worried at first. He was still withdrawing $40,000 a year. But by year 5, Bob realized something shocking. His portfolio had shrunk dramatically. Carol, on the other hand, followed the sustainable withdrawal strategy, starting at 3.5% and adjusting for market conditions. Her portfolio remained more stable, and she didn't have to make any drastic cuts in spending. See what happened there? The key difference was in how they managed their withdrawals. Bob overestimated how much he could safely withdraw, and Carol didn't. All right, folks, let's wrap this up. Overestimating your portfolio withdrawals is one of the most common retirement mistakes DIY planners make, and it can put your whole retirement plan in jeopardy. So start with a lower withdrawal rate, adjust for market conditions, and plan for inflation. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to adjust their retirement plan. Let's make sure everyone has the retirement they deserve without running out of money. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.